Robert, hey, Jim Delapine here. I want to give you some additional feedback on how you can have more fun with this. You did a great job on it. The background is perfect. All right, and I do see though that the shadow looks a little choppy. I wonder about that. But anyway, let's talk about what other fun options you have and additional teaching devices I can provide you with. So let's look at this text. That's really what I want to talk about. So if I go to the text, let's see here. I have that checked. I have that checked. Auto select is checked. So if I check on the text, it brings me up here, and I see that you have an image that's attached. So let's see what that looks like. So it's a gray striped image. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to hide that attached image, and let's see what else we can do with this. So first of all, with Terrible Toys Todd, I'm going to, just so we can see it better for now, let's just fill that with white. Okay, and so here. All right. Um, all right, let's just choose. Actually, let's choose a color. Okay. So I'm going to, once I have the color picker open and I drag my cursor away from that, notice it turns into the eyedrop tool, the sample tool, so I can sample any color by clicking on it. And that gives me a color that wherever that sampler is, the direct pixel underneath the tip of that is what color I'll have. So that's a good way to match something. So let's just choose that font right there, okay, that color. So I'll hit OK. Now you're much too close to the edge. All right, from a design standpoint, it's not a good idea. I also will say that I have some workers working right outside my window here, so when that happens, I'm going to go to pause, and then when it clears up again, I'll continue. It ended. Okay, so let's talk about increasing the size of this and working with some additional options here. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to rasterize this text layer so it's no longer an editable font. So I'm going to right-click on the layer and select Rasterize Type. All right, so now it's uneditable text and it's, for lack of a better word, art. So what I'm going to do is put my selection tool around the word Todd and go to my move tool or shortcut, hold down the control key so that allows you to access the move tool from any tool. And I'll just drag the word Todd down here. Then I'll go up and put a selection around Terrible Toys Todd and then go to my move tool. Actually, instead of move tool, I'm going to hit Control T. I'm going to scale that up. So I'm going to click and drag, and as I'm dragging, I'm going to hold down Shift to constrain it, and I'll make it around this large. And I could also have fun with this and stretch it out, you know. And so let's just do that. So I will move this into position here, and I'm going to be creative with, and I'm going to be creative and place the text behind the head. Okay, so I'm going to hit Enter to apply that transformation. And then I'm going to drag this down to show behind his head, and that means it's here. So all I have to do is actually let me just hide that area where you needed the shadow, where you created the used to create the shadow. I've got a number of things going on around me right now. I'm also multitasking, so if I sound a little crazy or verklempt, that's why. So, okay, so I've now placed the text behind his head. I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. So let's have fun with this. Let's make it look like there's a flashlight shining on this part of the T, all right, or this part of the word terrible. So if I'm going to click on the flashlight, and let's see, I'm going to actually angle it a little differently. So I'm going to hit Control T. I'll drag the center point down to here and then rotate it slightly so it's pointing up. I'll use my move tool to increment it over a little bit and then hit enter. Okay, so now it's pointing here because I know what I want to do is shine a light that hits part of this T and then part of the E and R. Okay, so I'll do something with Todd later. So now what I'll do is I will go to this layer here and I'm going to zoom in. All right, so now I think you can handle this. This is a little involved, but you've been doing fantastic in this course. So you're ahead of the game. I have a feeling you may have experience. So what I'm going to do is go to the elliptical marquee tool. So I'm gonna create a selection now that makes it look like this flashlight is shining a light onto these characters here. So I'm going to, of course, the noise is going on now. Let me go to pause. Yep, it's done. Okay, so I'm going to create an elliptical selection that looks something like this. I'm kind of guessing as to how it's going to fit in here. So I'm going to let go now, and then I'm going to go to select transform selection. That will allow me to, if I zoom in, spacebar control is the shortcut for zooming in. I'm going to rotate that, and then use my move tool, I'm sorry, the arrow keys to increment it up. And I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. So I'm trying to get the area inside this flashlight where the light would come out of. So that's why zooming in is important. So I'll move it up, and then I'll hit enter to apply that transformation. I don't care about what's up here, but I really was more concerned about this arc here. Okay. So now what I'll do is this. I'm going to go to my lasso tool. Okay, so knowing this, the shift key has two purposes. It adds to and constrains. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to use it to add to. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and click and start creating a selection. All right. I'm also now going to hold down the alt key. That allows me to convert temporarily the lasso tool into the polygon lasso tool. So my shift key and alt key is now held down. I'm now letting go of the cursor that allows me to now freely move around. And I'm going to click outside of the document area. Here, I'm going to click once. Then I'm going to click again over here, outside of the document area, and then come down. I want to create this kind of triangle look. All right, then I'm going to click right at the edge of that oval, and then click in the center again. And now, if I let go, I get that. Okay? So let me do that once again. I'm going to undo that. I'm holding down the shift key to add. If I don't hold down the shift key, once I click with the lasso tool, it deselects. Okay, so let me undo that. And okay, so now I'm going to hold down the shift key, so I'm adding to the selection. So I'm going to click and start dragging, going right to the end, to the left end of that oval, and then holding down the alt key. Then I'm going to hold down shift and alt, and I'm coming up with my cursor. And then I'm going to click here, and that sets a point. So by holding down the alt key while you're in the lasso tool, it allows you to access the polygon lasso tool. So it's two tools in one. So I'm going to come down here and click on the right edge of that oval, and then I can actually let go right now, and that will add to the selection. So I have that. So now I'm going to go over and create a new layer. Okay, so I'm going to click on the new layer icon, and now I have a new layer, and I'm going to change my foreground color. Click on the foreground color, and I'll select I don't know, a pale yellow or something. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so I'll hit OK. So now what I'll do is I'll hit Alt-Delete. Alt-Delete fills up the foreground color on the active layer, and it will fill inside that selected area. So Alt-Delete. Okay. So now I can deselect by hitting Control-D. Now what I can do is I can lower the opacity, so you see you kind of have a flashlight look. Okay, so we have that. All right, so now I'm going to do this. I want to kind of exaggerate this a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer. Okay, by hitting Control J. All right, as long as there's nothing selected, it will duplicate the layer. Okay. And I'm then going to hide that layer. All right, I'm hiding the duplicate. So with layer 4 active, I'm now going to create a layer mask. And I want this light to kind of dissipate as it falls away, as it goes away, further away from the light source. So I'm going to go to my layer, my gradient tool. All right, and I'm going to go with black as my foreground color. And I'm going to click and drag with the gradient tool with the layer mask active. And the further away you go, the more gradualness you'll get. Okay, so I'm going to go somewhere up here, right? And I'll pull down. My cursor's held down and I'm dragging. Notice black is the foreground color, and I'm on a layer mask. remember, black hides and the white does the opposite. All right, so I'm going to guess it's somewhere around here, and then let go. All right, so notice how it's gradually pulling away. All right, I want to do this again, a different source. All right, so there you go. All right, so you can see how it's slowly dissipates the further away from the flashlight it gets, which is what a flashlight light does, a real light does. All right, so now let's remember I have another hidden light on top. Okay, so let's go to that, and now I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the text. All right, so the text is, go to my move tool. Let me click on the text, and that shows me that it's Turbotones Todd up here, and the light is up there. So let me just move this layer down to where the text is. Because remember, I put the text behind the head, so I have to kind of like just slowly drag it down so it's right above that text. All right, so this is the text, this is the light. I'm now going to create a clipping mask out of this. I'm going to attach this to the underlying pixels. Remember, clipping masks attach themselves, attaches what's on that layer to the pixels of the underlying layer. So Alt, delete in between the layers, and there you go. So it attached to the text. So now it makes it look like it's brighter in that area. In addition to that, you can make this really bright by bringing up the opacity. All right, so we'll leave it at that. All right, so cool. So now what I'll do is go to the text, and I'm going to bring Todd to its own layer. All right, so I'm going to put a selection around Todd. I have this layer active, and I'm going to hit Control-Shift-J. All right, that will bring it to a new layer and remove it from this layer. All right, Control-Shift-J. All right, so now I screwed up my clipping mask, so I'm going to have to bring this back down again to here and then make it a clipping. All right, so now we have this on top of that. All right, so in case that happens to you, that's what happens. That's what you do. All right, just reclip it and restack it. All right, so layer 5. So let me hit Control-T, scale this up, and then have some fun with this. All right, this is getting a little lengthy. I apologize for that, but in fact, I think you may appreciate this. So let's do this. I can hit Control-T. Whoops. Let me do this. I'm going to put a selection around. I'm going to make these different. How would I put this? How would I do this? I could put characters on different layers, or I can, let's see. I'm going to just do something really fast, just to show you what can be done. Ideally, what I'd like to do is have more fun with this and place each character on a different layer so that I have more control. So I think you're up for the challenge, so let's do this. With the lasso tool, zoom in. I'm going to surround the word Todd. To quickly do that, press is held down. I'm going to hold down the Alt key. I'm in the lasso tool, so I can now just click, 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 and now that surrounds the letter T. Remember, it's only going to bring opaque pixels up. So now it's going to bring the T. I want to put the T on a new layer. So Control-Shift-J. All right, that brought it up to a new layer and removed it from the underlying layer. Okay, so now I have control over that one. So just to make things a little organized here, I'm going to double click here. I'm going to type in the letter T. All right, and now for the O, I'll go. This is turning into a very long video, so I'm sorry. So let me go to the O. All right, and on layer 5, I'll hit Control-Shift-J to bring that to its own layer. So I'll double click here and make this an O. And then here's my thought of taking these characters and rotating them, having fun with them. Okay, and note you could also make these multicolors, which would be kind of cool. All right, so let's say this T, for example. All right, let me move this out of the way. All right, the O I'm going to place right here. All right, for a reason that I'll talk about briefly. All right, I'll just place this here. All right, so for the T, for example, I'm going to go into my foreground color. I'm going to choose a bright red, okay? So now with bright red as my foreground color, with the T layer active, I'm going to click on the Lock Transparent Pixel button, okay? That's locking everything except for opaque pixels on that layer, which is the T. And now I'll fill that layer with the foreground color. Alt, delete. All right, so notice it attaches to only the T because this is checked. Okay, if I didn't have this checked, the entire layer would fill with red. All right, you could do the same thing for this character. We check that, go to a different color. I'll choose something a little more, I don't know, maybe something in the green area. So now Alt delete, all right, and we have that. In addition to that, what I'm going to do is make this pencil look like it's going through the T, through the O rather. So I'm going to Control click on the O layer. Wait a second, never mind. Let me just create a layer mask first. All right, so I'm creating a layer mask for the O. And then I'm going to Control click on the window area of the O layer, and that puts a layer, a selection around the opaque pixels on that layer. I'm then going to go to my paintbrush tool, make sure that it's at 100% hardness. Little shortcut: if you want to decrease the paintbrush size, hit your left bracket key. Increase your paintbrush size, hit the right bracket key. Okay. So I'm now going to, with black as my foreground color, on that layer and with the layer mask active, I'm just going to click within that selection, but notice it worked the opposite way. So let me just undo that. So it's white, and then click. Wait a second, what am I doing here? Oh, I know. Let me see. I need to inverse the selection, so it's doing the opposite of what I wanted. Or is it? No, that's because I'm on the wrong layer. I need to go to the pencil. I'm sorry. So let me go to the pencil. All right. With the layer mask active for the pencil layer, I'm now going to hide that part of the pencil. Okay. So notice what I did now. So that selection kept me inside that area. All right. So now it looks like it's going through the O. All right. You can create a shadow onto the O and all that. So have fun with that. You could also do the same thing with the D. All right. So let me go to that layer here. All right. Let me put a selection around that. Go up to the pencil layer. Select the layer mask. Go to my paintbrush, and then I could do that. Okay, so if I deselect, you can see how you can make that appear like it's going through the characters. So you can have fun with that. All right, so I think I've gone on way longer than I needed to. So I'll keep that in mind, and I hope that helped. All right, take care. Bye.